More of the same. Productivity gains again offset cuts to farrowings. The USDA's June hogs and pigs report places the June 1st inventory of all hogs and pigs at 74.5 million head, up slightly from last quarter and 1.25% higher than a year ago, and quite close to pre-report expectations. Likewise, market hog inventories are up slightly from last quarter and 1.68% higher than a year ago, again close to pre-report expectations. Meanwhile, the breeding herd is down slightly from last quarter and down 3.19% from last year, just below the bottom end of pre-report expectations, ranging from 1.5% to 3% lower. In contrast, the March through May pig crop at 1.82% higher than last year comes in a bit above the upper end of the range of pre-report expectations of nearly 1% to 1.6% higher. All categories of market hog inventories are up compared to a year ago, with the under 50 pound and 50 to 119 pound classes up 1.4% and 1.2% respectively, while the 120 to 179 pound class and those over 180 pounds are up 2% and 2.5% respectively. Overall, the number of hogs weighing less than 180 pounds is about 1.5% larger than a year ago, which will be the market hogs arriving at processing plants from July through November. The year-over-year increase in lighter weight hogs partly reflects the larger March through May pig crop, which itself results from a continued trend of growth in pigs per litter, here 1.75% higher than a year ago, outpacing reductions to farrowings at just 0.1% lower. Summer and fall farrowing intentions are down 2.5% and 0.5% respectively from actual farrowings last year, suggesting producer restraint from expansion. Such lower farrowing intentions historically would imply somewhat smaller slaughter numbers in subsequent periods, but whether that rings true will depend on pigs per litter. Frozen stocks of meat remain below recent years. According to the USDA cold storage report, cold stocks of pork at the end of May are down 3% from the previous month and 9% from a year ago. Poultry stocks are up 3% from the prior month, but down 5% from a year ago, while beef is down 3% from the prior month and just 0.5% from a year ago. The USDA forecasts U.S. per capita pork consumption at 50.6 pounds per person in 2024, falling to 50.3 pounds per person in 2025, reflecting continued concerns for consumer purchasing power in the face of inflation, the availability of pork, and strong export demand. The U.S. exported 656 million pounds of pork in April, or about 13% more than in April of 2023, 38% of which went to Mexico, a 30% year-over-year increase, reflecting low bone-in ham prices and the strength of the peso. Despite appreciation of the U.S. dollar against currencies of other trade partners, U.S. pork exports have remained competitive against EU exports and were also up year-over-year by 28% to Australia, 24% to South Korea, and 5% to Japan. As such, the USDA raised forecasted second quarter pork exports by 100 million pounds to 1.93 billion pounds, or 8.2% higher than last year, and forecast the third and fourth quarters to be 9.5% and 6.4% higher, respectively, placing the 2024 total at 7.4 billion pounds, or about 8% above last year. The first quarter of 2025 is forecast to be 1.91 billion pounds, or about 6% higher than in the first quarter of 2024. With the resulting outlook for hog prices, at least producers have hope for lower feed costs with the possibility of higher corn production based on the USDA's June acreage report. The forecast presented here is for the national weighted average net price on a carcass basis for all transactions for producer-sold barrows and gilts, including negotiated and contract prices. This net price should be more reflective of what producers receive on average and normally runs at a premium of more than $2 a hundredweight over the base price on average. From March through May, this net price averaged $88.33 a hundredweight compared to $85.49 a hundredweight for the corresponding net prices for negotiated or spot transactions. As hog prices tend to be seasonally higher in the second and third quarters than in the first and fourth quarters, this price series is forecast to average $92.61 a hundredweight for the third quarter of 2024, falling to $77.24 a hundredweight by the fourth quarter and $77.36 a hundredweight for the first quarter of 2025, before rising to $88.83 a hundredweight for the second quarter of 2025. These projections are consistent with supply and demand scenarios currently anticipated. However, if greater production occurs or if demand softens, lower prices may be realized. For the University of Illinois and Western Illinois University, I'm Jason Franken.